Hey, and good Tuesday morning, everybody. How y'all doing out there today? It's good to be with you back here on the Weather Nerds YouTube channel for the weather report, your updated weather without all that social media hype. God knows we got enough of it out there to keep you kind of guessing what's going on, but we kind of play it straight here. Our motto here is to keep you prepared and not scared, and hopefully give it to you straight and kind of get you ready for what's ahead for us. Now, if you're coming into this live broadcast after the fact, and if you'd like to be part of this family, please invite you to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you're alerted. If you have any weather-related questions, you're more than happy to please post it down below and give me a thumbs up. It does help with that YouTube algorithm thing. You know, I think we got to fight every day here in the YouTube universe. So anyway, let's go ahead and get into this update. Boy, we had that big derecho. Sioux Falls had winds overnight, kind of came in around midnight coming through there, where it really got bad up to 90 miles per hour, but it is pretty much fizzled on out there right now. What's left of those clouds are kind of sitting in here. It's mostly a pretty good indication. We knew that once we got to about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, it was going to die down, and it sure did. Now, yesterday, the cold spot yesterday, let's see, we were going out yesterday. That was Peter Sinks, Utah. I actually had that yesterday. That was 22, and then 116 was out there in Tekapoa, California. That's actually west of Las Vegas, if I remember correctly, out there in the Mojave Desert. Those are our highs and lows out there across the nation yesterday. So anyway, what we're going to be talking about, we're talking about extreme heat. We still got that for today. We do have some relief in the offing. I kind of slugged this as an unusual event that's kind of coming in. You know, we're in the end of July going into August and have a cold front that's going to be this strong coming down. That's going to be kind of giving, we'll call it a summer break, really, for everything. It's not really kind of a true fall air mass, but it's definitely not a summer air mass either. So kind of in between. It's going to definitely provide some relief out there. But the middle of the country here, right through here to the southeast, y'all going to be baking once again here, as we're going to have to wait a little while for this cold air to kind of come on down and kind of push everything out. And that'll slowly but surely happen as we go toward this weekend. And we'll see a nice little break in there. The heat's really going to be kind of squeezed and contained really for the deep southwest Texas and maybe even getting down to Florida. It's going to be quite refreshing, I think, for a lot of folks here, especially after the extreme heat we're kind of dealing out there right now. Now, speaking of that derecho we had overnight, we're dealing with the repercussions here still this morning. For example, there's still 12,000 without power in Iowa. Minnesota's got 81,000 without power out there. South Dakota's got almost 4,000. Wisconsin's got 14,000. So we've got quite a few power outages left there that are still out. Again, you kind of see this little leftover remain right there. That's what's left of that derecho. It kind of fizzled on out there as it's coming into Illinois. So again, the high resolution model did a pretty good job with that event, that overnight event. I'm sure it's pretty scary, especially here in Sioux Falls. Like I said, Sioux Falls had winds there up to 90 miles per hour. I think it was around midnight or so as that was moving through there. So very, very nasty storms out there. We still got some storms today, and we'll show you that here on the latest from Storm Prediction Center here in just a second. But let's again look at the watch warnings out there today. Again, big part of the country continues to be that heat. You're still looking at, 35-40% there of the nation covered in heat. Still got it up there into the northeast. Got it here across the middle of the country, even down toward Florida. Now, when you see those purple areas, you see there in Georgia and down there in Florida and even up here in the West Virginia part. So you're talking about 110, 115 degrees plus in those zones. Those feel like temperatures. That's a combination of your air temperature as well as your humidity. We've been running extremely high. And we're going to be beating this thing down, folks. We're going to be beating it down. We're going to be kind of cutting this down little by little and kind of moving this way as we go in through this upcoming weekend. So just hold on. We just got to get through the day. Today's going to be pretty brutal out there. That's for sure. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the severe weather breakdown for today. I mentioned this yesterday. If y'all remember watching our report yesterday, they had this as all marginal, and I said I didn't believe it. I said, nah, they're going to update this, and they did. They brought this up. They brought this up to a level to where we're going to see this. Hold on a second. I got to get my little pin going here for me. And here we go. We just kind of knew we were going to see that. So you kind of see that yellow in there. That's that slight risk. Yesterday it was all marginal. So I was like, nah, they're gonna upgrade that, and they did. I kind of figured they would do that. There's not really a tornado threat with this thing here for today. We're going to be dealing with the wind threat, obviously. And we'll zoom in here a little bit closer there to kind of get the cities here. So we're talking Omaha, Des Moines, stretching back over to Rapid City. So that's where the highest wind threat is. We're talking 60, 70 mile per hour winds in here. That's running about 15%. The Brown, they're running it into 5%. Again, near Chicagoland here on the tail end of that. And the hail threat, that's going to be predominantly out toward the west. So we're talking out here into the Rockies. That's pretty typical. So we're talking Billings, Montana, coming back into Wyoming, getting out down toward Hot Springs and Casper, getting right in through there. So again, not looking too bad out there. Just looking at probably looking at some maybe, up to $0.5 size hail possibility with some of those storms out there for today. All right, let's go take a look at the categories ahead here. Let's look at your day 2 going in for tomorrow. This is going in toward Wednesday, obviously. So we got the slight risk, marginal risk here from the northeast, switching back into the middle of the country. Again, I would not be surprised if this gets upgraded to a slight risk again, just for the nature of the extreme heat and the fact that we've got that pretty decent cold front that's kind of sliding through there. So it would not shock me to see that upgrade a little bit. Got a little other marginal pocket out here into Wyoming, Montana, and down toward Denver, right out there in the west as well. And then on day 3, just showing a general thunderstorm threat here for everybody. Again, I suspect that'll change as well as we go look for the days ahead. So that's what we're looking at as far as that. What about the flooding risk, which has obviously been in the news a lot this summer? We're going to talk about that. Let's look at your day 1 here for today. Again, really the yellow areas, that's where you kind of concern again with these cluster of storms that are expected to be out here in the middle of the country. So Iowa stretching back over toward Wyoming, Montana, South Dakota, all those areas in there. That's what we're talking about here for your potential for some flooding. And also a little bit down here, still dealing with a little bit of monsoon moisture down here toward New Mexico with some pockets there. And you got marginal here across the southeast with a few gully washers out there with some thunderstorms for this afternoon there across the southeast and into portions of West Virginia and back to the Carolinas and Virginia. So day 2, we're going to shift that a little bit further to the east there. We're talking about Illinois, talking about Missouri, Iowa, parts of Indiana, and you're also back in here toward Colorado and into New Mexico and in there parts of the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas, just a little bit there. See a lot of marginal there going up into the northeast. Again, as that frontal system begins to move off toward the east, we'll see a lot more of this and stretching into the southeast. So we're talking about those individual cells. You get these thunderstorms this time of year. You can get quick 1 to 2 inches real quick. You can get a little flooding going on there. But again, the yellow zones are really the predominant hot zone here going into your Wednesday. What about Thursday? Well, I'm going to shift this over to the East Coast here. So we're talking about the major cities in here. We're talking New York, down toward Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., getting up near Boston. So this whole area in here needs to watch. Obviously, urban areas, when you get flooding, the runoff can be a little problematic, so especially with all that concrete. So that can be a little bit of an issue down toward Virginia, Kitty Hawk. But we're also stretching this all the way back in here toward the Mid-South, back toward Mississippi, Louisiana, and also out here in the foothills out toward Montana, stretching back toward New Mexico. So again, but the yellow hot zones, those are the ones we watch when it comes to real flooding. The marginal risk is you watch out for the individual localized flooding, but the yellow ones can be a little more concentrated. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about the tropics out there. I want to mention this here. Now, right now, officially for the next 7 days, there's nothing out there official. There's a lot of postings going on social media showing out for something out to day 13. Okay, something in the Gulf of Mexico predominantly. I will tell you right now, the error rate on models that far out is extremely high. The odds of that thing still being there or some sort of hurricane or tropical development in the Gulf of Mexico is probably very, very low. Don't get yourself worked up until we get about 7 days out. And now, beyond the 7 day, what I look at as a meteorologist, I'm looking out from day 7 forward. I'm looking for model trends. Is it there from run to run to run to see if there's model consistency there? I do prefer the European model. It is hinting at something that far out. I'll watch it, but I'm not going to go over the top with that, okay? So a lot of clickbait out there. I even had to put something on my local Facebook page just kind of say, hey, guys, I put a big X on it and said, no, just ignore that. So we'll see what's going on. Right now, I will tell you this, out there in the tropics right now, we do have a tremendous amount of dust still showing up there. See all that kind of tannish hue out there? That's Saharan dust blowing off the coast there, blowing on out there. There's some decent waves out here to the south, but that dry air and that sinking air with that dust is kryptonite for tropical waves and things like that. So it's going to be a bit of a problem. We'll see what happens here as we go through time, but we'll see if we get anything developed out here in the Gulf as we go into coming up in here, as we go into what's coming up here beyond the 7 day. Once we get into August, obviously things start to typically ratchet up for the hurricane season. We'll watch that, and we'll see if that changes when we get a little bit closer. All right, so let's go ahead and shift over to our model data here. We're going to first take a look at the short-term model data here. We're going to be looking at what's going on here basically over the next 60 hours or so. We're looking at the 3-kilometer NAM. And basically what we're going to be seeing here is we're watching these clusters of storms that are going to be kind of moving in this direction here, again, with that frontal boundary. So You see some storms there. We get some scatter storms across the southeast, but the trend is for these clusters of storms to kind of move from west to east, not really pushing south, not just yet. That'll happen as we go into this upcoming weekend. We're probably going to settle some sort of cold front here across the south that's going to stall out a little bit. Definitely enhance the rain chances down there. It's going to be beating back that oppressive heat. So again, we're looking pretty quiet out here on the West Coast. Washington State all the way down through California still looking pretty hot and dry. Arizona looking hot and dry. A few storms there across Colorado and down in here toward the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma. And a lot of rain here going into the tail end of this run, going into your Thursday afternoon, going into the Northeast. So the middle of the country here, going into Wednesday here, and then Thursday kind of shifting up into the Northeast. So that is going to be our active zone here, and it's still just a lot of heat and just scattered storms across the Southeast. Now, you can definitely see this thing beginning to make a move and its impact on the temperatures. Check out this loop I've got going here on the NAM. Look at the purple. That's all the oppressive heat that's there, but we're really going to beat and shrink that thing down big time. Just look, it's getting pushed further and further south. You can see it making a move, man, and making a nice move indeed. Look where it is by the time we get to the end of this run. Let me go ahead and let that run all the way through there one more time there. I'm sorry about that. Let's go take this all the way out to the end of the run here. We'll go all the way out of the end here. Let me stop that. All right, stop that real quick. Let me go all the way up to the end here. All right, there we go. So look by the end of the run here. I mean, we're talking, you definitely see some sort of cold front setting right through here. Very much so, much cooler. Temperatures up here in the 70s, so a lot of 70s out there. The oppressive heat's down here. These are still holding on to the 90s here across the deep south. But really, look at a big part of the country seeing light down. We're seeing temperatures in here up this way, sitting there in the 60s and even some upper 50s up there in New England. And that's for 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday. So, I mean, that should tell you something. We got some big changes coming. Very unusual to see a front this strong moving in here across the country. All right, now let's go look at your rainfall totals. Again, we got some of that rain that's going to be coming this way. Again, you saw those clusters of storms kind of racing from west to east. So, looks like the heaviest rains here will be across Iowa and Nebraska. We're talking, to maybe some localized 3-inch potential heavy rains there. A lot of scattered storms here across the southeast. Any one of these can definitely set up 1 to 2 inches of rain down in those areas as well. And it looks like we got a little bit of monsoon moisture out here. We got a little bit of rain out here into areas of New Mexico, Colorado, and getting into the panhandle of Texas as well over the next couple of days. So that's what's looking like on the short-term forecast. Let's look at the long range. Let's look at the European. And I do have this looping, and you're going to see the little feature I just talked about on the tail end of this run. But again, what I show this for is to kind of we're looking at the trends. We're looking at the troughs. We're looking at the high pressure ridges. We're kind of getting an idea where things are. And you can't help but notice as we get toward the end of this looping run, we got cool air coming in across the northeast. A lot of high pressure building across the country. So this brief cool down we're going to have next week, it's going to be very short-lived. We're going to warm up big time. But here comes this. You see that feature lighting up there toward the tail end of that run. Again, what I'll be looking for, we'll see if it's there tomorrow. Now, if it's there tomorrow, okay, we'll watch it. We'll see what happens. But again, don't get all spurred up yet on the tropics just yet. We'll see what happens as we get a little bit closer to it. But we're definitely seeing what's going to be here as far as the short term. Let me go ahead and stop this once again. And what we're going to see here is, again, going into this next week, you got this troughiness here in the east. So we're going to be cooling it down here in the east. Kind of hot here in the middle of the plain, starting to up into Canada. We're going to see that really continue into this upcoming weekend as well. And then as we go into this upcoming, going beyond that, we should see the whole country. Notice by the time we get to Wednesday next week, kind of going to this Thursday, a lot of the country kind of showing high pressure here. We got a little bit of weakness here across the northeast, but what this means is we're going to see temperatures toward the end of next week really kind of warm up across most of the country the way the current outlook is looking. So this is going out about 10 days. That's about 10 days. That's about as far out as I really like to go on a long-range model. But again, what I do look at beyond that is I'm looking for consistency. I'm looking for what it's showing from one run to the next, especially 0Z run to 0Z run, that kind of thing, comparison the 24 hours out. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the short range. We're looking 7 days. So what we're going to see here is we're basically going to get a front that's going to basically stall out here across the south, okay? That's going to enhance the rains down here quite a bit as we go into this weekend and into early the next week. It's going to cool it down, and you're going to notice the lows will drop down a little bit as well. But again, it's not really a truly fall air mass. It's a kind of a hybrid. That's the best analogy I can give on this. But let me go ahead and stop this real quick. I want to go ahead and slow this down for you a little bit. So let's go into this upcoming weekend. We just talked about up to this Thursday. So we got some unsettled weather here across the mid-Atlantic, coming into the southeast, obviously going into Thursday. And going into your Friday afternoon here, again, we'll kind of stretch this into the southeast. This front's going to stall down here. So you guys expect to kind of a wet and damp period, especially going into Friday and into Saturday. And I think it starts to back off after that. Little storms out here in the foothills, a little bit of unsettled weather out here in the Pacific Northwest as well, into Idaho and into Montana going into Friday. How about Saturday? Let's check out your Saturday afternoon here. We'll check out about 2 o'clock. Again, rainy across the deep south there. Got an easterly wind. You're basically going to have some sort of high pressure kind of sitting in here, and you're going to get the easterly wind that's going to come in here. So that's definitely a cooling wind for the southeast. So kind of unsettled for Saturday. Those who are watching from the southeast, looks like I think Sunday will get a little bit better, but boy, it's still trying to hold on to this rain. I was kind of trying to back the rain chances off for Sunday, but we'll see if this still holds up on the afternoon run. I may have to revise my thinking on that here across like for my area in the Atlanta area. And then it looks like as we go into next week, it looks like by Monday afternoon, still looking unsettled there. We got another storm system coming out here out of the plains once again, cut through Iowa and into the high plains from Wyoming down to Colorado again. I may be some pockets of severe weather on that going into Monday next week. And then finally going into Tuesday, still remains unsettled across the southeast. So the southeast, you guys are looking kind of damp. Northeast is going to be drier, that's for sure. You're going to see much cooler temperatures, drier in the northeast. The middle of the country, I think you get a brief reprieve, and then it's going to warm up again toward the middle of next week. So you've been warmed. You're going to enjoy the nice little cool down coming this week, but it will rebound once again. So 7-day rainfall total showing the enhanced rain showing up here across the southeast. So a lot of heavy rains, especially across the Carolinas. You can zoom in here a little bit. You see these 4 inches rain. Some pretty good heavy rains here across portions of eastern Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina there. The northeast, it really dries out, really, after this rain kind of pushes through. This is that heavy rain from the initial front that's coming this week, but then it's going to dry out there. And you see the storm track with some, we got 2 different systems here kind of tracking from the high plains, coming through the Intermountain region and coming out into the plains here. So kind of a little wet and unsettled out here in the middle of the country. All right, let's look at, I want to talk about the temperatures here. This is a snapshot for Friday, okay? This is Friday, and look how much of the temperatures here, look how much of the country here is basically looking at temperatures in the 70s. I mean, this is August 1st, folks, and we got that much. Now, we still got some 90s, still hold on 90s across the southeast, Texas, and in toward the southwest, obviously, but just a really tremendous cool down there. Go into your Saturday afternoon, there's this Saturday. Again, you're looking at a lot of 70s out there. I mean, it starts to rebound. You can see it warming up there. But again, here's the 90s here, there. I mean, you typically have a lot bigger 90s than what you would typically see. That's for this time of year. And then we'll take it out to Sunday one more day here. We'll take it out Sunday afternoon there. Again, it looks like the South's looking kind of wet here because of the rain. They're staying in the 70s. But the heat's just combined here to Texas, the Southwest, and extreme South Florida. But temperatures will get a rebound here from the Northeast as well. But 70 to 80 is not bad. 70s, 80s here across the high plains up toward Michigan, back over toward Nebraska and the Dakotas. But really, this is not bad. So this weekend is really going to be looking pretty decent across a lot of the country. But unfortunately, you folks in the southeast, y'all are going to be looking kind of wet. So just plan on that. All right. Now let's go ahead and talk about the heat indices. I want to talk about this for the next 3 days. Again, we got to get the front to go through first. So in the meantime, as you saw, and I'll go ahead and pull this up once again, you got all these heat advisories in effect. So we're going to have to deal with extreme heat for today, but we're really going to be chipping away at it over the next several days. Okay, that's the good news there. So you see where that excessive heat is really sitting in right in and through here, just quite a bit of just very, very extreme heat temperatures in this zone. So, I mean, you're talking like here, 111, 113 in Iowa. I mean, I know that we got the corn sweat going on. The corn sweat's the corn, when you got corn maturing and it's getting near harvest time, it really releases a lot of extra moisture into the air, and it really makes it feel really bad. And that's what we're seeing out there, especially in Iowa. 110 in Missouri, 110 in Arkansas. I mean, 110 in Alabama, 111. It's just, this is brutal. This is for today. This is on your Tuesday. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is watch what happens as I go in through tomorrow. So we're going to go into tomorrow. Oh, look at that. We kind of trimmed that away a little bit. Not as much on there, but it's still hot. There in Missouri, obviously, Oklahoma, Arkansas, the deep south, obviously. But we trimmed it away a little bit. And let's go into your Thursday. Let's go into Thursday. Check that out. Oh, look at that. We shrink it some more. So, again, we're beating this back. We're shrinking it back. You'd see where it was in the 110s today. Look, 75 in a couple days there in Iowa. So we know we got a cold front stretching right through here. That's going to be bringing in some much cooler temperatures. But the southeast, y'all going to be the last to get it. It'll come in coming into this upcoming weekend. That's when you'll begin to see some changes on that arena here. So you don't have to worry about that as we go into Saturday and Sunday. But it looks like we'll basically be dealing with extreme temperatures probably in Texas, the Southwest predominantly, maybe South Florida for the most part. But we're really going to shrink down this big heat dome. Now, as I've been saying, is don't get used to it. We're not the fall yet. We're not even close, really, be honest with you. We're about still 7 weeks away from getting this. So this is your outlook. This is your 6 to 10 day outlook. This is going from August 3rd through the 7th. So obviously we're seeing that cool pocket here on the East Coast. We got a little bit of cold air out here cooler air. We'll call it that, not really cold. Cooler air below normal temperatures out in the West. But I want you to see what happens as we go forward. This is from the 3rd to the 7th. Look what happens when I go to the 8th to the 14th. Whole country back above temperatures. For every reaction there's equal but opposite reaction. So we went from the heat back to something cooler. Now we're going to get the heat coming back again. I just don't know if we're going to see the extreme heat come back as we've been dealing with for the last week or so. So that's the question mark. We'll see what happens as we get further out into August. August, you're really starting to shrink the days down a little bit, but August can still bring some extreme heat. So we got to watch that closely as we go deeper into the month. Precipitation-wise, what we're going to see on the short term, obviously because of the northwest flow, we're going to have it drier out here in the northeast, and we're drier out here into the Four Corners region here as we go through that period. So we're talking the 3rd to the 7th, and then the 8th to the 14th, it returns to a little more seasonal, although we're still looking at a little bit of below normal precipitation here from Nevada, Utah, stretching back over toward Texas, and it looks like a little bit of above normal there across the Midwest, and a little bit into the Northwest, and here in the south, down toward Florida. So that's what your long-range models are looking for today. Again, I'm really liking this new format. I like being able to do it this way and talk to you all. I'm still working on my chat thing. I downloaded it. Again, trial and error, man. I probably will need to set up a live broadcast where I'll just kind of keep it private so I can test some things. I'm still trying to get the chat thing in here so I can pull up y'all's chats. I can see y'all chatting over there. I can see DJ, good morning. Rita, good morning to you as well. Tyler, Rita, good to see all you guys over there. So again, appreciate you guys checking out the channel, getting your update here for today. Again, appreciate everybody supporting us here. And folks coming in after the fact, again, if you're coming in to catch this broadcast, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Make sure you give me a subscribe if you can. I do have a little ad buy going. As you notice, we got up to 8243. I've got a little advertisement promoting this channel as a no-nonsense, straightforward weather that doesn't try to scare the bejesus out of you. I tell you, watching some of those guys out there, and you know who they are, I just go, oh, it just drives me crazy sometimes. But that's okay. I can only control what I can control here on the Weather Nerds YouTube channel. All right, that's y'all's update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on tomorrow's update. You guys have a great, safe day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.